Yes, welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend. I just wanted to go over a bunch of scenarios since it was such a big week, right? So trade light, trade small, and let's get started. So again, this is bigger picture, right? We know this was the downtrend line holding as support, and this downtrend line was holding as resistance. And we saw last week that we actually broke out of this line, right? At first we attempted got rejected at supply, came back to support, and then we broke out. And so far, we've been consolidating right over that breakout. So that is the bigger picture that we did break out. So again, at this point, we kind of have to wait and see, is this a fake breakout where I have a bear scenario for that, right? Or if it is a breakout, I do have a bunch of bullish scenarios given how much data and earnings are coming out. The market could react adversely to any number of it, even though it has broken out. So let's get started with the different scenarios, right? Scenario number one, actually, I will go through this next. I think what's more likely is that we're actually in a wave 5 of wave 3, and I think this right before Microsoft and Google earnings are right before FOMC, we're likely to top out for this wave 3. And during one of those events, we're likely, I personally think that we're going to have this wave 4 dip before we have the final wave 5 higher to 4177. So it's kind of what I my gut says is going to happen. But again, I'm going to go through the other scenarios that I am tracking as well, right? Because you can't be biased and be like, oh, only I know what's right, right? So the other scenario could be that this was actually your wave 4 right here. The difference is we're still in the wave 3, right? We've not completed that. Versus here, the Friday dump was the wave 4. In the wave 4 as well, right? There's again two different scenarios, right? Because this looks pretty impulsive, right? This entire move was your A, this is your B wave, and then you could have like, the C wave down till, like I said, Microsoft or Google earnings, and that could be a catalyst for the wave 5 higher, right? And it would look something like this. So those are the two scenarios you kind of have to watch out for if you're in a wave 4, is that you still have the C wave that could be remaining, right? Or the fact that if you've started, right, you should watch out for that wave 2 before you're 3, 4, 5. So those are kind of the two scenarios. If you're in a wave 4, if you're in a wave 3, you're likely to see an impulsive, as you can see, this is the channel, right, holding a support and resistance. And I think you would kind of see an impulsive move to 4060, 4070 before you have that, again, a pullback before the final wave 5, right? Bigger picture, I'm still looking at resistance between 4140 to 4170, right? To complete this wave 5, at most may push to 414200, right? Before this wave P pullback, right? At which point I will become bearish. And before the final C wave move, again, this will probably take another month before the C wave starts. This is kind of what I have bigger picture, and those are kind of all the minor scenarios in between, right? And obviously the bear case. Again, if this is a fake breakout, right, this entire thing would be your ABC wave, right? This would be your ABC, and then you would have this wave 5 lower. And I will be watching this. I'm not going to say that this is not going to happen. It could happen, right? If we start to break below 3880, I would say that, I would start considering this to be highly probable. So this is what I'll be watching. And again, yeah, as you can see, it's probably going to 3500, 3400. Another bearish scenario is that this entire move could have been your A wave, right? In which case we could still dip for that B wave and go higher for the C wave, right? That is another bearish scenario, that alternative that I will be watching as well, right? Again, we know that 374050 is demand, right? If that happens, then this would have to hold. A break below this demand would guarantee give you 3400. So these are all the bearish and bullish alternatives I am watching. So hopefully that is helpful. With that being said, right, let's go through this week's watch list. Again, please trade lightly on this week's watch list, right? It's very going to be dependent on news, the data. So I want you to, not just follow it blindly. So the first one I have is Airbnb. Again, the reason for that, you can see we've broken downtrend. And again, this is the previous resistance line, right? And we've tried to break over it, and now we're somewhat hovering over it. So that's the reason I have this is as long as this level, right, holds this new support, I think Airbnb could, run up to 115, right? If 115 breaks 125, right? That's on the bull side. Obviously, if we cannot, right, as you can see here, if we cannot hold over this line, then below 103, I would expect us to come retest previous resistance, right, at 97. So those are the bull and bear versions, right? Wherein we can establish support in the zone, we can go up to 115. If we break into this, then we're likely to come and retest 97. And if 97 breaks 91, right? So those are the bull and bear alternatives for Airbnb. The next one I have is D-Dog, right? So for D-Dog, as you can see here, we have been making a series of, this has actually been making a series of lower highs and not higher highs, but as you can see, it's been making higher lows as well, right? So for D-Dog, again, very simple bullish and bearish alternatives, right? Number one is this here, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Again, if I zoom out, you can see that trend line is pretty much the line that's been acting as top resistance, right? So you can see a move to 117 and 120, right? But if we break below this, right, this has been holding as a level of demand, right? If we below 89, we also have a bottom line, right, holding a support. So we're likely to come retest that at 75, right? So yeah, those are bullish and bearish levels. Over, let's say 98, 99, we can retest 110. If this breaks, we can go to 126. Below 90, 80, and 90, right, we will retest 80, 75. So those are your bullish and bearish, lines on D-Dog. Let's look at JPMorgan. So JPMorgan, again, it's very similar to Airbnb. You can see that we have briefly broken out of this long downtrend, kind of looks like the index, right? For JPMorgan, again, very simple. This is obviously 115, 116 is resistance, right? If we break over that, we're likely to retest 119, right? And if 119 breaks, then we're likely, let's go to the daily, right? You can see that we have a gap here. If 119 breaks, we're likely to go for the gap at 125. So, excuse me, this is the bullish version for JPMorgan. Obviously, you can see this is acting as resistance, right? And you can kind of see that this below here is also had past 3 days has acted as support. So if the support breaks, right, at 113.5, then we're likely, going to come back to 110. So those are your bullish and bear levels, range bound between 115 and 113, right? Over that bullish, below that bearish. So those are your levels for JPMorgan. The next one is actually GameStop. And the reason for that is, again, this is a channel down. This is a channel up. We already played this in the Discord a bunch of times, but it could still have a lot more room, right? So the levels are simple. As long as this trend line holds as resistance, again, we could, another thing that's possible is we could retest this line before it comes down, right? Or unless obviously it breaks out. That's obviously the other scenario, right? So for GameStop, that's the reason I have puts below 35, 34.5, right? If it does try to bounce, right, you got wait for the break, right? If it does try to bounce, watch and see if it rejects like 38.8, 39, right? If it rejects, it's likely to come back down. If we directly, after split, stocks tend to sell off. That's again another reason why I have GameStop, right? After the split, watch and see if we, have further sell off, right? A better entry would be a break of 34, but you can kind of enter when it breaks 35. Right, if it does, then I think we could, test the bottom of this channel. Again, you can see we're just kind of sideways in this triangle, right? So that is something I am watching for GameStop. Obviously, if we do break out of this downtrend, then GameStop is likely to have a large move. So that is something you can keep an eye on as well. So that's all I have GameStop on this week's watch list. And the last one is MRNA. MRNA, again, you can see we're very tight. We are holding this as support. We are holding this as resistance. So over 172, we can go retest about 190, right? Below 160, then we're like, it comes sell off to the bottom of this range around 140. So it is very tight. Wait for it to break a direction, and likely, as you can see, I have bullish and bearish options on everything, right? I don't assume we're going to be bullish. I want to be prepared for both sides. And I want to make sure you guys are prepared for everything as well. So that's it. I have a very small watch list, right? And I would trade this week with caution just because it's going to be a lot of tricks involved. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great week.